Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Merry Christmas. It's you can see it that I have my Christmas garage going on here. So it's actually 2 days after Christmas, and gonna be taking a look at the T26E4 Super Pershing medium tank today. It's a Tier A tank from the Americanos, and this was originally a Pershing that had a whole bunch of armor bolted onto the front, and it had since been nerf patched by Wargaming because it was too powerful. I never played it when it was in its previous form, but I have it now, and I like the tank. I just find that the matches I get into it with haven't really favored me too much. My stats in it aren't that great. But looking at all the stats for this thing, you've got, well, the thing costs about $33 normally. Right now it's on sale for about $27, which is like 30%-ish off. So get it while it's hot. 1,500 hit points is a lot of hit points for a medium tank. It's got about the same as an IS-3. It has more than the Centurion by about 60, and it's got more than the Pershing. It's got more than the T-69 by quite a bit. So hit points, it's got a pretty decent advantage. It got bumped up from, I think it was like 1,450, so it got a 50 hit point increase, which doesn't really amount to a lot, but it's something, right? So looking at the weight, we got about a 51-ton vehicle with only a 500 horsepower engine, and that's where this thing has one of its most massive disadvantages. It's really slow. If you're on flat ground, it's kind of okay, but as soon as you got to climb something, you'll just see like all the IS-3s and everything else that you're playing against, like just fly right past you. Heavier stuff with that weighs more than you. It doesn't matter. You're pretty much the slowest thing going up a hill in this game. I don't know too much that's slower than this other than maybe a TOG going up a hill or a KV2. So it says your speed limit is 40. You can reach that going downhill. Maybe if you're on a road on a flat surface, you can hit 40. But the traverse speed's not bad at 32. It's mobility-wise, and it's just agility and like around cities and stuff is pretty decent. It's just where you got to climb or you have to try and get back to reset. This is not the tank to do so. So that's one of the main disadvantages of this tank I found so far. Looking at the hull armor, it was not number-wise nerfed a lot, but some of the angles were removed. Like it was more straightened out, and they minused it by 1 and minused it by 1 or something like that. So it didn't look like numbers-wise that it got nerfed too badly, but they changed a bunch of the angles, and it just made the armor less effective. But that would probably take someone who'd driven it before comparing it to how it is now. But I don't really find that the armor is the problem on this tank. It's more the engine's underpowered and the gun is a little bit underwhelming unless you're firing APCR. So the hull armor is 177 in the front, and you can see this extra plate that they welded onto the upper and lower glacis here. So you've got a nice thick layer of spaced armor with a weak spot here, and you can see the main hull of the tank in behind there. It actually looks like it's another plate, but I don't really think that actually counts as anything. So you've got 76 in the sides and 50 in the back. So as soon as you get around to the side of the Super Pershing, it just becomes like any other medium tank, and it's just freedom, happy, cupcake, princess day, and you can just shoot anything you want through the sides of the side of the turret, side of the tank. The back of the tank is really squishy. Even tier 5 tanks could penetrate the side of this thing pretty damn easily, so I wouldn't really worry too much about penetrating the sides. It's more or less just the front, and that's the way you want to drive this thing. You want to make sure that your armor is front and that it's angled on an angle similar to like this, with the obviously the turret pointed towards you. But the turret armor is 101 in the front, and then 76 in the sides, and then 76 in the back. Pretty sure this box in the back is just radio equipment and not part of the hitbox, so don't maybe shoot at that. The weak spots of this tank are fairly plentiful once you get around the armor. You can shoot at these little cheeky parts here. You can also shoot at this whole area up here. But one thing I found is that if you raise your gun up in the air, it actually raises this base armor. So it blocks off a lot of this area. So you can kind of raise your turret up and down and wiggle it left and right. And sometimes it'll throw people off. When you're really close up, it's harder to do. But if you're at medium to long range with this tank, it's kind of hard to shoot at these weak spots unless someone gets you to turn your turret. So if you can try and pay attention to and use your map awareness to where the enemies are, keep your armor like this, and the weak spots get pretty small from range. So that's how I kind of prefer to play this tank. I don't really like to get up super close. Some other people do because the armor is strong up close, but the weak spots become a lot easier to hit. And the DPM of the tank, like if you had to go nose to nose with an IS-3, you'd have to be penning a lot of your shots, and sometimes it's just a little bit too easy to get your weak spot shot in this tank. So for the most part, I like the armor quite a bit, actually. I'll be showing in some of the replays that how the armor works and just how effective it can be at times. And we'll just take a quick look at the radio. 745 range is not too bad. We've got the 32 traverse with the suspension. We've got our garbage engine V8 from Ford. Thank you, Ford, for such a great engine. So we got a 24 turret traverse speed, which isn't overly fast. And that's mostly because of this armor that they bolted on it and how Wargame decided to set the value for it, basically. So you got a 390 view range, which is actually really good. That is a pretty nice view range for a tier 8 tank. And we'll look at the gun next. It's probably the other weak link on this tank. Because in real life, the Super Pershing's gun was actually very, very potent gun. And a lot of people said that it was on par with like a King Tiger's type of gun. Like it was very, very, like it would punch through a tank, through the engine, and then come out the back and then get lodged in the dirt. No one could find the round. So that was the whole point of the Super Pershing, was to put armor on it, but to mount a gun that was able to take tanks out like the Tigers and the King Tigers were able to do. And according to what I know, the Super Pershing did see service in the European theater, and it was rumored or fact that it had taken out Tiger tanks from range with its gun, and that it did perform and was able to do what it needed to do. But they didn't make more than 25 of them, and only 2 of them, as far as I'm aware, 1 to 2 of them saw service. So looking at the gun in this game, it's basically like just a crappier version of the Pershing's gun. So we'll do this. We'll load up the Pershing gun. So we've got worse penetration, same alpha damage, worse accuracy, and the same aiming time. And for whatever reason, the weight of the gun is a whole ton less. I don't know why, but sure. Yeah, so that's, to me, the weak spot of this tank is really the gun. If this thing had better penetration, like about like 200, I think that would be more on par with what it probably should be. I've read that Wargaming may or may not buff this tank, but what they would do to make it better would probably be fairly negligible. I don't imagine it would be anything too drastic. They're not really in the business of trying to make this tank as good as it was in real life. They made it a premium tank, and honestly, it probably could use the gun that it had in real life instead of whatever this contraption is that they threw on it. But if you do want to be competitive against tier 9 tanks, you can start shooting APCR, and you make enough money that you really don't lose money, even if you shoot all APCR. So at 258, that's actually quite good, and you do the same amount of damage. So the APCR in this tank is quite good. It's not as good as the regular Pershing, which is like 268, but 260 pen is still quite good. So that's like, if I run into, I I don't know, like Yag Tigers and stuff. That's typically what I end up shooting at them, just because if you don't, you don't have great shots at the lower plate and stuff. You're just gonna die. So the gun is a little bit underwhelming, and the tank does have weak spots, and it's not very fast going up hills. So that's why I end up running 100 octane gas in it. So we'll take a quick look at the modules I've chosen taken. I take the vertical stabilizer because I like to shoot on the move occasionally with this thing, and gun length drive and tank gun rammer, so I got better aiming speed, better loading speed, and this helps when, you know, turret rotation and during movement and stuff. So getting up and getting shots off and then pulling back and being hull down with this thing is actually a pretty good idea, because the gun depression on the tank is quite strong. It's like -8 to -10, somewhere in there. I can get that number right quick because I have the ability. Yes, it is -10, so it is on par with the Pershing and the Centurion, and that is definitely one of the strong points of this tank, other than its great frontal armor. So the amount of rounds you get to take in this tank, so you're going to go about 55 rounds. I found that I really don't get lit on fire too often in it, so because I do try and keep the armor to the front. So I forego the fire extinguisher, and I run gasoline so I can try and get around quicker, because the mobility is the thing that hurts this tank quite a bit. A small repair kit and a small first aid kit. With the crew, obviously you're going to be transferring crew from other tanks, so I don't really worry about the crew skills or trying to have a dedicated crew for this thing. It's more just to make money, and when you have a good game where you do around 2,000 to 3,000 damage, you'll make anywhere from 85 to over 100,000 credits. So if you play 10 games in this thing, like, you're going to be looking at, you know, a pretty decent haul. So if you're into like credit creation stuff, the Super Pershing can dish out enough damage and make enough credits that it seems to be it's pretty worth your while. As far as how much it costs, I think $28 for a virtual item is kind of, you know, it's expensive, but it's nowhere near as expensive as all the other tier 8 tanks that are $50 plus. So at the end of the day, I think this is the most I'd ever spend on any tank in this game. I think if Wargaming wants my money for any other tanks, they're going to have to rejig their pricing structure, because I just refuse to pay $50 for a virtual item. Like, you could buy like 4 or 5 other tanks that are premium tanks, like for $5, like the Churchill 3 is right now, or you can buy a lot of stuff for $50 in this game by buying lots of other tanks instead of just spending it all on one tank. But that is how they've set up the pricing structure. So we'll jump into some replays. You can kind of see how this thing runs. Okay, so we're on Severgorsk here, and originally I decided I was going to go up this hill. You can see that climbing here I'm only doing about 10, 12, and then when the slope gets higher, it starts getting worse. So I'm doing like 12, and now you can see it starts to get steeper, and I'm doing 10. So this thing is about as fast as a T34 going uphill. I'm actually catching up to him a little bit. It's like, no, I'm starting to lose it now. Yeah, so I'm doing about 9 or 10. All the other medium tanks beat me up the hill. And you can see in the map that our entire team, our 5100s, decided to drive and YOLO up the middle of the map in the riverbed. I don't know about that strategy. I'm not really a big fan of doing that myself. I prefer to take one of the hills on the left or the right, or set up somewhere in here, this sort of area. And I missed the shot on that T71 there. So I'm going to pull over here, and I'm going to try and take up this spot here. And our Type 58 just got hammered by artillery. So I'm going to hang out here. And it looks like we got an FCM that's decided to pull up here. He's one of the relic guys on their team. We had a full relic clan on the other side. So he's one of the better guys in their team. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to make sure that our guys don't get flanked, but our T-34 has already got himself down about half-life. So I'm just going to speed this up while nothing happens here. I really just did sit here and try and hold this flank. And now we've got IS-6 coming. So I've switched over to my Prem rounds. And he put a shot into the T-34 that he just took it, I guess. So I didn't have a great shot there, so I'm going to try and use the side of this hill. And I put one into the front of the FCM. And what else is over here? It's the IS-6. So took a pretty big shot from him, but not very well aimed. He shot it right into my spaced armor, and it did not penetrate. So I'm going to use the side of the hill here to try and pop up a bit, and I can see the bit of his cupola, but the shot missed, unfortunately. So I'm going to reload again. I've got 17 rounds, so I can do this all day. Got quite a lot of shots I can take. And he misses his shot again. Poor little hamster. So I pull up here. So I did take a hit there. He shot me right in my weak spot, but I managed to shoot him in exactly the same spot, so kind of just traded damage there. So track the IS-6, and he's got no gun depression to shoot me, so I'm just going to aim at trying to aim his turret ring there, but that didn't work. So he shoots me there, and I'm going to shoot him just in the right front of his tank. And I'm okay with just getting up close and personal and face hugging him at this point. So I shoot down onto him again. Penetrate him again. My Prem rounds can penetrate him quite easily. So I took a pretty big shot there, aiming down into him again. That shot didn't penetrate, so I shoot him again. And then the FCM tried to flank me, but he got wasted by our 5100, which was nice. So shoot him again. Bounced another shot. So Battle of the Tier 8 premium tanks goes to the Super Pershing. I took quite a lot of shots there. I can only take about one more. And my commander's dead. At this point, I don't know, it didn't really affect what I was doing, so I just didn't really care. So I was, again, the only one holding this side of the map here. And I switched back to normal rounds. See if I could get a shot at the Hellcat, but he was moving pretty good. And they have two artilleries here, and I'm still fully by myself. So we'll just speed this up. At this point, all the relic guys in the enemy team are dead, so that's always nice to see. See, most of the team is on the other side there, engaging the T28 prototype. You can see the Ferdinand coming around, trying to flank them. So I dropped back here and thought I would go down and try and help them out. So going downhill, I'm doing about 45. It's about as fast as you're ever going to see a Super Pershing go. So I come around here and get the back of the Ferdinand. And I just aim at his hatch that's right in the back. And he didn't really decide to move here. So I took him out, and then I got hit by the artillery. But my crew in this thing was good. They had good repairs. So, got my tracks up quick. Started heading over here. See my tanks all shot up. Spaced armor doing its job against the IS-6. So I've got a shot at the Hellcat here. And yeah, that was exactly what it looked like. A side shot of Hellcat, critical hit, track damage only. So instead of him being almost dead there, he only has 300 health instead of having probably about 50s, which is what he should have had. And the T20 prototype got me while I was trying to come across there. He got me my SARD armor, and my whole team just kind of melted and died at this point. So right here I was just going to try and hold my ground and see if the artillery could do some work with me. And we've got a Hellcat coming around. But I gave him too much of the side of my tank, and I ended up dying. That wasn't the smartest thing in the world to do. He could shoot kind of down onto me at that point. I should have given him more of the front of my tank, but I didn't, and it got me killed. But at the end of the day, my team they were shit. They couldn't take out that T28 prototype, even with a whole bunch of 5100s over there. So that game there, 18 shots out, 16 direct hits. So I basically hit most of everything I was shooting at. The penetrations, I got 15 of 18, so that wasn't bad at all. I did 3,052 damage. I potentially took 3,200 damage. I received 9 hits, and 4 of them were non-penetrating, most of them from the IS-6 that I was fighting, and maybe 1 from the FCM. So all in all, the armor held up pretty good against something that only had 217 pen. If an ISU 152 shoots at you, it will go right through this armor like it didn't exist. It'll just overmatch it. So you got to watch out for those guys. You don't want to be engaging those things if you can help it. So we'll jump on to the next replay. You can kind of see a little bit more of this thing, and it's maybe in a winning light. Okay, so we're on Prohorovka now, and the enemy team, this is an 8.9 replay. The enemy team has 3 otter players on it, which is always exciting. So I decide to drive up this area here and see what I can see. So I'm making pretty good speed, doing about 30. And I've got an IS-6 backing me up. So you can see pulling up here, I can use my gun depression to kind of peek and not show too much of my tank, which is one of the things I like about this thing. So we've got a 112 to the left, and by now he probably pretty close to proxy spotting me. And Stewart there. I don't really want to drive up and expose a lot of my tank to this 112. And he's going to get shot up by all the guys over here anyway. So we'll just keep an eye on him. Here I just wanted to keep him proxy lit. And he's dead. Our IS-3 over there just took him out. And their team was not very aggressive here. We don't really see anything. It's like they all decided to go camp in the corner with all the otter guys or something. So back here we find a T-34. I'm just going to get forward enough that maybe I could shoot him. Yeah. Maybe. Took a shot at the top of his turret. That didn't work. So got a nice side shot on the VK-45. Set him on fire, and he's still burning to the tune of 1,200 damage. And that shot missed, unfortunately. Alright. Enemy down. What do we got here? Side shot on the Yeg Tiger 88. This gun is more than good enough to penetrate the sides of just about anything. It's... I think pretty sure that shot went in as well. It's when you gotta shoot at the front of the heavily armored stuff that you gotta switch over to the EPCR. So this T-34, gotta pay attention to him. He can hurt me quite badly. And his gun's pretty accurate, so I just don't want to get shot by him if I can help it. Alright, so got another side shot on the Yang Tiger 88, but he's gone. Yeah, there just isn't a heck of a lot to shoot at right now. That was a little bit of a T-29 turret. Obviously not the most wonderful thing to shoot at, even in a Tier 8 tank. So I have a pretty iffy shot at the T-34 through the tracks. I just took it anyway. So I just got a little bit fed up with hanging around here, so I decided to move up. And I still don't have a good shot at the T-29, and I might have a shot at this guy through the tracks, maybe. No, shoot the train again. Throw mama underneath the train. I remember that movie. It's an old movie. All right, thank you. And then it misses. I really thought that one was going to go in. So, accuracy of this gun, not amazing. Probably should have waited there. Would have got a much better shot at him like right now. And he died just as I was about to kill him. So, let's see what I can do against this T-34. I'm going to drive up here. Can I shoot him? Oh, perfect. I'm gonna try and shoot him right in the gun mantlet. So we can see that the otter guys are still in full camp mode in the back corner of the map. And this is where I just decided to kind of go front on with these guys and use some of my armor to my advantage. I want to try and get in where at least I have a ridge line when I'm coming across here. So I'm going to get spotted. I'm just going to try and show. They're shooting HE at me because that only did about 90 damage. And that was artillery. And I don't have wonderful shot at this fella. So I take another shot here, another shot there. Didn't penetrate the armor. But none of these shots that hit me there all hit my spaced armor and didn't penetrate. The only thing that did was the shot from their artillery. So took another shot from the artillery. And now I got side shots on the otter dude. And it looks like a side shot at his turret, but that didn't go in either. So I got hit again. These are all going into the front of my turret. And at range, these guys don't seem able to hit me in my weak spots. Took another shot that didn't go in there. Another shot there. Still getting shot up. And yeah, lots of shots into the front of this tank. Still not taking any damage. And this gun, you can see it's having trouble penetrating that Churchill 7. And we got a Tiger 2 back here, and he just got nuked by the IS-6. Yeah, that's too bad for you, Otter guy. You can't always be top tier, I guess, can you? So I don't have a shot at him that's very good, so just keep moving up. I do have a shot at him now, so say goodbye to you. And before I can kill the last guy, the game ends. And you can see at the front of my tank is all shot to hell, but I really only took arty damage, really, from a bunch of HE rounds on the front of my tank. And yeah, you can see that, yeah, it didn't take too much damage at all. Soaked it all up. And that's one of the things with the Super Pershing you'll find is like, okay, you know, you can get through the space armor, but then you have to get through the gun mantlet. Almost everything that gets shot right at the front of the mantlet doesn't go in. So the armor worked pretty good there, and I didn't take hardly any damage, but I also didn't really do too much. I only did about 1,800 damage that game, and a lot of it came from the burn down on the VK. But it did its job, and it gives you a good idea of what to expect with this tank. So we're on Tundra here, and This was one of those games where everyone just kind of lemmings off to the one side and didn't take the entire other side of the map. So it's basically just me by myself. And I kind of thought, okay, this team is really bad, so I can't hold this entire flank by myself. I ping the map. No one cares. So we'll just speed this up. This is what the serve Pershing would be like if it was fast. So I don't have a shot at the ELC really. But I do have a shot at him. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be in trouble because I'm the farthest one over here. And it seems like I'm by myself. And there's a T-34 right there as well. So I got a nice shot down onto his engine deck. And I don't really want to take a shot from him. So I'll put another one into him and pull back behind the mountain here. And he's just content with sitting here. So I shoot him again. And now he's fully back behind some cover there. And it looks like there's a Tiger 2 sitting in the open, not paying attention either. So I shoot him. And now I've got an AMX AC-48 that pretty much has my back. So I'll give him a shot. And I was really hoping that shot would go in. So I get my armor to the front, but it didn't hold up because, yeah, he shot my lower plate looking up at my lower plate. So that was good enough to go in from the Tiger 2. But he's got a good gun, so I'm okay with that. And then I got hit by the ELC on the top of the mountain. And eventually I'll slide down to the bottom here. And I got a whole plethora of douchebags shooting me from here. Because my team, even though they all went that way, they still don't seem to understand how to take the hill properly. So I'm in the riverbed all by myself. And I loaded Prem rounds here, and now I have a Type 62 that's going to try and come around me. He puts one into me, but I don't quite want to take that shot yet. Pop around here. And I'm almost dead now to the Tiger 2. Type 62 isn't able to kill me. So shoot the Tiger again. Tiger doesn't penetrate. I'm just going to hit him in the drive wheel. Take him out. And this guy wasn't paying attention, so I will get rid of him. And the team still is content with hanging out in the middle of nowhere there. And yeah, so they got flanked, and we did lose this game. And we lost it pretty... Actually, no, looking at it here... No, I'm pretty sure we lost this game. Basically, the team hung out on the hill and let them cap out. So we lost to a cap, actually. Yes. So there's nothing more satisfying than doing, you know, like 2,800 damage, and then the next best guy in the team does like, what was it? In the thousands, like 1,000, like 1,200 or 1,300, something like that. So... didn't end up winning that one, but the armor held up pretty good at the end. It took a little bit too many shots from this ELC, who was doing as much damage as I do at tier 5. Another, why does that tank do 240 damage kind of moment for me. And it kind of makes the Super Pershing feel a little bit meh because it doesn't do very much damage. But I mean, this game has so many balancing problems that it's like you just kind of roll your eyes at it after a while. It's like, okay, tier 5 tank does as much damage as my tier 8 tank. But that's the way it is. So I died there, but I was able to bounce some of the shots, and I just pretty much had a useless brain dead team that didn't cover off the entire other flank, and we ended up getting capped out. So yeah, all in all, this tank can output damage, and it kind of it has enough DPM that it can kind of solo and it can kind of go off by itself, but you just don't want to get surrounded and put in situations where they can shoot you in the sides. But for the most part, you're able to penetrate the sides of, you know, most of the stuff you're shooting at, unless it's like the front of very tough tanks like a Foch or something. You're gonna have trouble with those types of things. So got one more replay, and then we'll jump on to the final analysis. This is going to be the last game that I'm going to show with the Super Pershing, and it was in the Fisherman's Bay map. Top tier again. This thing only gets tier 9 matchmaking, so it's nice in that respect. I'm teamed up with a couple of my clanmates here.
Time to roll out.
And unfortunately for me, I kind of had to go it alone almost in the city here. It felt like. I mean, I don't know. You'll see what I mean in a bit here. It's basically going to be me versus both of their IS-3s. And this is where I had to shoot a whole lot of APCR just to even stay relevant at all. But the tank held up really, really, really well. Its armor did its job. I took almost 5,000 potential damage in this game. And yeah, we didn't die from from lack of armor. We just died because our team wasn't very good. So our M5 goes in Suicide Scouts, which is nice. And you can see my ping went up to about 800 there. So I had to kind of hang back a bit here and wait for my lag spike to go down. Because I was playing on the east because so many people just refuse to play in the west. They think that the east server is somehow better than the west server or something, but I don't really find there to be much difference in between them in either way. So ping problems fixed up. If this was an 8.10 game, I could have shot through these things and done some damage there, but that didn't happen. So I just move forward and break a bunch of the things so I can actually shoot around this corner here. So our T34 just went up there, and now he's getting side-shotted by everything on their team. And that one didn't go through on the Super Pershing. So we got IS-3 coming around, potentially. So I just pull back, switch to my APCR rounds, because there's no point in shooting at the front with the rounds, those rounds. So I put one through the front of the first one. And I'm going to side scrape back out here. Hit him again. And where did he hit me? Yeah, he hit me right in the hull. And didn't do any damage. So the armor soaked that one up. And someone over here shooting HE at these guys. And artillery shooting at me as well, which is always wonderful. If I ever quit playing World of Tanks, it would likely be just because of the garbage way that Wargaming has implemented artillery. It absolutely drives me insane that they've made artillery be pinpoint accurate in this game. So I bounce another shot there. That one right in the front of my turret. So now I've got both of these guys just going for me. And that shot didn't go in either. He was aiming at my machine gun port. So I pull forward, shoot him again, bounce another shot from the front plate there. And this is why I felt like I was alone, because the IS-3, the Carnarvon, and the other IS, they didn't even come over to try and help me. I was basically fighting two IS-3s, their most powerful tanks in their team, by myself. So I shoot him and track him, and I'm just backing up here. And I do take a shot there. That shot looks like it hit the side of my tank because there was too much of the side of my tank showing to the IS-3. So I just keep reversing and trying to shoot at these guys and do as much damage as I can. So I put one more into that IS-3. And that shot... Ouch. So I'm going to shoot this guy. And then I'm going to pull back. And that shot went in because I couldn't angle well enough. So I hit him again. Now I'm going to finish this guy if I can. Put a really low roll into him. So he shoots and misses, so I shoot him again. And I'm trying to stay angled here. Bounce that shot. That one goes in. Bounce that shot. Okay, finish him off. Now this other IS-3 is going to come and shoot me again. Doesn't go in. So I'm going to chase him down. And finish him off. And now I'm down to 3 hit points. This jackass even touching me might even get me killed. So I'm not even sure why he came over there like that. Yeah, and there's the dirtbag still shooting at me. So I'm going to come around here and try and get a side shot on the Super Pershing. So I put one into him. And he pulls back far enough that I don't get any more shots at him just as I get my shots back here. So I decided to play fairly conservatively here. I see the ISU-152 coming around. So I want to get my armor to the front of him. So I get armor facing this way and I just start reversing. And he's not really paying attention to me, so I'll shoot him. So I give him some Super Pershing love. He's still not really paying attention to me. So I take another blind shot. And there's an SU-122-44 coming over this way. And there's the Super Pershing. So he comes blasting around the corner here. Take him out. So I'm up to 3 kills now. Yeah, at this point here, like, maybe I should just drive into the fucking dirt or into the water. But it didn't really matter. The T-69 came around and ended up shooting me in the back. And the other Super Pershing ended up killing our IS and our IS-3 over here. So against those guys, I had to shoot all APCR just to know that I was going to do enough damage to kill them, because I basically had to kill them both by myself. It was a bit of a garbage game. It just seems to be the games I get in this tank. I haven't really found that I get games where everything comes together as much when I drive this thing. Like, I find I did good. Like, in that game there, I did 3,411 damage, hit 18-19 shots. took almost 5k potential damage, bounced a lot of shots, a lot of non-penetrating hits, but it just didn't seem to matter. And that's, I don't know why, but that just seems to be the way my games go in the Super Pershing. I like the tank, but I don't seem to win in it. I wish that was different, but I don't know. Maybe some other people know how to make it work better than I do. But at the end of the day, the plus points are definitely its frontal armor is fantastic, and if you can stay to medium range and people are just impatient and aren't going to aim properly at your weak spots like those IS-3s didn't, you can basically just DPM them down. And I was able to kill those two IS-3s pretty much by myself with artillery shooting at me. And yeah, so the high points are definitely its frontal armor. It shoots quick enough that you can DPM people. Its APCR penetration is fantastic, and the gun depression is also quite good. Its weak spots are it's crappy going up hills. Its engine power is really weak. Its turret traverse speed isn't fantastic. It has some pretty huge weak spots, like the sides and back are really weak, and the top and there's cheeks and the machine gun port that are also weak spots. But from medium range, they're quite hard to hit. All in all, I like the Super Pershing. It generates a lot of credits. If you have games like this here, you make over 100,000 credits for a game like this, where you can output like a decent amount of damage, like twice of what your hit points are worth. You can make quite a lot of money from driving this thing. Even shooting all premium rounds, I still made, I think, between 50 and 60,000 credits for this game. So all in all, I like the Super Pershing quite a bit. I don't think it's questionable whether it's better than the regular Pershing. It has attributes that the normal Pershing doesn't have that make it really nice. Like if I was in a Pershing versus those two IS-3s, I'd be dead. The armor saved this tank, and I was able to do a reversing delaying action long enough to stay alive. You play this tank, you can't really flank people very well. You play it more like a heavy tank than you do like a medium tank because it just doesn't have the speed. But I don't know. It's kind of a different tank to play because they call it a medium tank, but it's heavy like a heavy tank should be. It's kind of how I imagine a heavy tank should feel, just in how it moves around and how slow it is. But a lot of the heavy tanks kind of, like the IS-3 doesn't feel like a heavy tank. It's like a medium tank, but it has heavy tank armor and it has a heavy tank gun. So if this thing had the gun that it should have on it, it would probably be really, really awesome. But it'll probably never get that. So at the end of the day, I think the Super Pershing is quite a lot of fun. I know a lot of people sold it, and it probably maybe wasn't their bag and they just wanted to try and get their money back out of it. But I like mine. I didn't actually even get mine on sale. I just didn't want to wait till Christmas. So this is one of the most expensive tanks I bought, and I don't think I'll be purchasing any $50 tanks. This is about as high as I'd be willing to go, and it's kind of one of the tanks I really liked how it looked. It looks nicer when it's not burning and on fire. But all in all, I would probably still recommend this tank just because it's $20-something cheaper than all the other Tier 8s. It still makes a lot of money, and for the most part, it does perform pretty okay. If you shoot APCR a lot, you can penetrate guys, and it's kind of like how its gun maybe should be. It should probably have the same gun as like the Centurion has, where it can punch through stuff and it still only does about 240 damage. But if it had that gun, I think the Centurion or the Super Pershing would feel more like that. I think that would kind of equal out how horribly slow it is, considering the multitude of weak spots it has. So I think that would kind of be the perfect Super Pershing to me if Wargaming kind of just gave it that sort of a gun. I think it would be pretty awesome, but I don't ever see that happening. So it, as it is, I still like it, and It's probably the only tier 8 premium tank that I would buy. I don't know. I can't really recommend what people should or shouldn't buy, but I couldn't do the $50. Maybe it's just because I'm cheap, but at the end of the day, I like the Super Pershing quite a bit, and you know, a lot of people have been around long enough that they've already generated an opinion about it. So this is kind of more for people that don't have one, and they're kind of trying to feel out whether they want one or not. So that's going to conclude this review. I like the Super Pershing, and if you like it, maybe try and load it up on the test server and give it a shot. But I drove mine on the test server, and I actually did quite like it a bit. And if you shoot APCR enough, you can compete with any tier 9 tank as far as penetrating them goes for the most part. And it's quite good. So thanks a lot for watching. And if you like the video, you can give me a thumbs up. That'll help me out. And if you want to see more reviews and replays and stuff, you can subscribe. So thank you. Goodbye.